I've always wondered why churches don't preach more about heaven. I guess they're scared. But Jesus himself talked about heaven over 100 times. In fact, heaven is the most talked about place in the Bible. Scriptures reference many people that have witnessed heaven. I guess that makes me part of the club.
Welcome back to Boys Bible Study, the only podcast that doesn't talk about heaven because we're too scared. Too scared to talk about heaven.
Look, heaven, not for me, not much of a fan of it myself, but a big fan of people that believe they went there.
Well, have I got the movie for you? I'm Ash. I'm here with
Scott
and Julian.
Today's film that we're focusing on for our studies is, of course, The Man Who Went to Heaven, 2021, directed by Jason Campbell. I just realized JC probably means Jason Campbell.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't mean Jesus Christ.
That's a good point.
But Film Studios does mean the studio where the films.
Films
Is it Films
Studios.
Is it JC Films
that's
Studios?
why I pointed out.
Yeah,
that's
JC
very
Films
dope.
Studios.
That's profoundly dope.
This whole movie was profoundly dope.
In all honesty, now I am prone to superlatives. I am, because I get excited. I do.
That's not illegal.
No. But this was one of the most compelling movies we've ever watched. The imagery, the twists and turns, everything about this was just like 100 miles per hour. Like I would be settled into a groove and then something would appear on screen that would just be like, what?
Just look at the still that pops up when you go to IMDb. That's the main still that pops up. Somebody is on fire, and on either side of them, there's two masked angels in black robes holding glowing orbs.
It looks like the intro movie to like a 90s computer game.
Yes.
Jam-packed, 72 minutes.
Okay. Go on. Let's take a minute and do this. If you're on your phone, go to Jason Campbell's IMDb, tap on all filmography, and just let me know what your impressions are as you go down the list. Because I think we've stumbled on a powerhouse.
Yeah, I'm just like in awe of all these titles.
How does he make all these? This guy, Jason Campbell, he really seems like a total workhorse. And a lot of his stuff does seem to be faith-based. He made a TV miniseries about pilgrims called The 1620 Experience.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that looks good. I'm looking at the poster for Being Trump.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking at.
That one's really good. He's got one called Coronavirus: The Perfect Storm, but it looks like it's about a tornado. I'm not sure where the coronavirus comes into play.
What if there was a tornado that spread coronavirus? That would be fucking sick.
Yeah, the log line is: an ambitious New York reporter experiences a miracle that changes his life forever after a tornado touches down in a small West Virginia town. What does that have to do with coronavirus? Fantastic.
There's a coronavirus trilogy he's made. I don't know what the third one is, but Coronavirus Patient Zero.
I mean, that one's got to be about coronavirus, right?
Yeah. I think it's just like a virus, though.
Yeah, it's just the flu. Well, Jason Campbell, a new addition to the Boys Bible Study canon, clearly a creative powerhouse. I mean, just based on output alone. And the very tantalizing, just like posters, descriptions, titles in his output makes him one to watch. But to get into The Man Who Went to Heaven, much to say about this film. I want to start out by giving my sort of one sentence summary of the movie, which is that The Man Who Went to Heaven is Ancient Evenings by Norman Mailer, but for people with Nextdoor accounts. I found this movie to be a supernatural journey, sort of ripped from the Egyptian Book of the Dead, but dealing entirely in the signs and symbols of someone who lives in the suburbs of Bridgeport, West Virginia, which is where this movie was filmed. So, yeah, I mean, what made this movie so powerful? Like, what is it about it that just made it hit so hard?
This man went to heaven.
He did go to heaven. It doesn't matter what the haters say, what the critics say. He went to heaven. And the way that this film depicted it was just very powerful and very, very special.
Yeah, and I guess we're probably going to go through most of what happens in the movie, but I feel like describing that is going to sound kind of like fairly obvious what thing happens after the next thing, but it didn't feel like that watching it.
Not at all. The way this movie told a story, especially through like even just like the shots, like the positioning of things in the shots, which is going to, I mean, it really has to be seen to be believed, but like the scene where he's like sitting in the top floor of his attic or whatever, and then there's like just hovering in the left-hand corner of the screen, there's like the shadow of an angel just like moving while he's looking into the distance.
Stepped into frame too in the corner.
Very odd.
Yeah.
Very eerie and compelling. A lot that is very surprising about this film. How does it start? What events lead him to his supernatural journey?
It's a pretty cool cold open. You're seeing a monitor of a security camera in a convenience store of some sort. I think it's a convenience store. And we see our protagonist get shot by, there's like 2 armed robbers. And then he's whisked off to the hospital, and clearly he's not doing too good. He's unresponsive for 20 minutes. And then he comes to somehow, and then they perform surgery, and he made it.
Yeah, he makes it. That's the first thing we see. A bit confusing because at one point he is pronounced dead.
Yes.
Like literally pronounced
9:42.
dead.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they're like, oh, he's not dead. I think if they say the time, they've got to be pretty sure he's dead.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Chalk it up to coronavirus and be on with your day. They're so pissed when they had to go back. Ooh, there goes our money.
20 minutes seems like a long time to, like, I'm surprised they hadn't, like, wheeled him off to the morgue already.
Right.
Yeah, it was weird because they like called him dead, and then they were clearly like not all out of the room when the EKG started going off again.
Right.
Popping off, I believe, is the medical term.
Right.
But yeah, he was dead for 20 minutes, and did you just leave them there for 20 minutes?
Yeah.
That's the protocol.
That's what you do. Well, because the nurses all have to go make their TikToks for the day, so they need a little time to like just kind of decompress.
This is 2021.
It is.
That happened.
Yeah. Well, they need to spread awareness about the hospital and what it does, which is where you go there if you get hurt.
Okay, that is one thing that would make this movie better if during that 20 minutes they cut to nurses making TikToks in the hospital.
This man was shot with a gun.
Well, so yes, a man, his name is David Burrows, by the way. The protagonist is David Burrows.
The shortest sentence in the Bible.
And the second shortest sentence. And David Burrows immediately dies and comes back. The rest of the movie is concerned with his coping with reality that he lives in after the clearly supernatural experience that he's experienced. The most definitive plot point is that the doctor who was present, performed the surgery, was calling the shots as, he was going in and out of intensive care and, dying, coming back to life. This doctor has apparently cashed in on the story in a major way and is now a celebrity doctor who he's been on the New York Times bestseller list for like 6 weeks or something. And his whole thing is that he was converted to Christianity after witnessing this particular miracle.
Mm-hmm.
Which we believe as the viewer. He does seem
Yes.
genuine in his enthusiasm about it. And right after Burrows comes out of surgery, the doctor, Dr. Rick Nelson, says, "In my 15 years as a surgeon, I've never seen or heard of anything like this."
Yeah, that's a good point because, that's true. There is nothing in the movie that seems to say that the doctor is being deceptive in, his believing that a miracle of some kind did occur. But the movie definitely takes aim at commodifying stories like these, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that that's a pretty central theme to the film.
Yeah.
Is its critique, despite of course being an art product that is about exactly that. But yeah, what was the attitude about stories of people who go to heaven in this film?
Well, then the whole nation loves it, but the series of experts we see definitely stick their nose up at it.
Yeah,
And our Dean Cain cameo as a serious pastor, he thinks very poorly of it and thinks that hearing about what heaven is from some random wackadoodle basically is not as good as his interpretation of heaven via the Bible.
yeah. I find that is a recurring motif in these Christian films where someone, a common person experiences the divine. The Girl Who Believes in Miracles does this. Heaven is for Real, the story of Colton Burpo, also does this. There tends to be this divide in the movie. Even Benedetta
Yeah, even Benedetta recently
does this. Yeah, you compare this film, Scott, you compared this film to Benedetta while we were watching it. But yeah, there seems to be a divide where it's like, as soon as someone experiences heaven, as soon as, an average person who's not ordained or, as a minister or anything like that experiences heaven, the people who've staked their earthly identity on having some sort of spiritual communication, be they theologians or pastors or whatever, they're the first to jump in and say, there's no way this could have happened. They feel threatened by someone who's just been given the gift of seeing God. And we're almost supposed to mistrust them. Why trust the clergy when an average person could just be gifted sight beyond sight?
Yeah.
It sort of becomes maybe class isn't the right word, but this sort of intellectual class divide. You don't need special knowledge to be
Close to God
Exactly.
or connected to the divine in some way.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, it does a good job going through that, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Throughout the movie, there are a couple different. One thing that makes this movie very interesting is within the movie, there are many different media properties. There is, of course, the book. God, what's the book called?
Medical Miracles, Life After Death.
Medical Miracles. So there's a book called Medical Miracles.
There's a bunch of clouds on the cover.
The characters in the film appear on multiple television shows.
Yeah. What was the one that was just heaven question mark?
It was Heaven exclamation point.
Oh, heaven exclamation
Even better.
point.
Yeah.
It's just called Heaven.
I am so excited about today's show, Heaven. With me today are two gentlemen. one who's seen it and one who preaches about it.
I would watch that show.
I would watch that show 100%.
Yeah.
But it's great because I guess the films or the TV shows within the film were supposed to be like nationally syndicated. Like this is what everyone was watching, but you know, they looked like public access like shows. There's also Gets
Live with
Gets
Randall
Live.
Gets. With 100 Gets.
There's a show within a film called Gets Live.
The host has his wig on like the side of his head.
Good evening, America, and welcome to Gets Live. I'm Randall Getz. Do you believe in miracles? Well, this doctor and former surgeon says that he only used to believe in science, that he was an agnostic. But after treating this patient, he began believing in God. And yes, of course, miracles.
Again, it's supposed to be this kind of like national show where people go on to like learn the truth, which is like the first sign of how you know a movie is fiction. Like I love that depiction of like TV shows within movies that like it happens all in many different kinds of movies, but like there's a scene where like decisively someone at the top of the media is like, I'm going to find out the truth about this. And everyone wants to know about it. It's like, people don't want to know the truth.
Yeah.
It's not realistic.
Or that there's like a show that everybody watches.
Yeah.
Maybe we're just out of the loop, but
Yeah.
I don't think you could go on any show and be like, oh, everybody saw that.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Yeah.
That's about the
That's
closest,
the closest
we have.
thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Neil Young's not going to hear it.
Oh, we won't be hearing him
Yeah.
anymore. Thank God. That's what I say. As an aside, at work, my boss was like, should we cancel our Spotify subscription because of Joe Rogan? And I was like, how about we just listen to Joe Rogan in the shop? And he thought that was funny.
Wait, what's the I'm out of the loop. What's the Spotify Joe Rogan?
Oh, it's this whole
controversy?
thing. Neil Young said that because Joe Rogan was spreading vaccine misinformation, that he was going to take his music off of Spotify. And it started this like whole discourse, and then some other people like took their stuff off Spotify. But then Neil Young posted like, "Here's a link to all my music on Amazon." It's like, it's
Right.
really lame.
Okay. Yeah, I saw like the Neil Young fallout. I didn't see why that occurred.
Yeah.
Got it. That's funny.
Yeah. But yeah, this film deals a lot with the media. Also, the main character David, a big plot point of the movie seems to be like his desire to go on these shows to like spread the truth. The idea of his story like needing to be heard and told, even though his like family is very against it. What's that about? I found that to be like not completely thought out in this movie. It was like there were weird fragments of that theme around, but it was never fully like pursued.
It did seem like they could have hammered out a little further the anti-commodification message that definitely was there, but not nailed down enough.
No.
Or something.
Yeah, nobody outright like pointed out that it was bad. I feel like nobody like straight up was like, hey, you're just cashing in on this.
Yeah, even though the agent kind of like suggests that every scene he's in, but nobody's fully like, yeah.
Yeah. The doctor has this like devilish literary agent who's like dressed in red and has a mustache, and yeah, Julian kept calling him like Agent DeVille.
Lou Cipher.
Yeah.
This is my literary
We know
agent,
where his soul
Lou
patch is,
Cipher.
but where's his soul going?
Yeah, it felt really weird that there was like that whole vibe that the guy writing the book was the doctor selling the book was bad because it just seemed like he was spreading the word that this like actually happened.
That was why
And
it
it
was
was
so
really popular for the first 2/3 of the movie, and then it suddenly was like, oh no, actually nobody believes you went to heaven.
right.
It just seemed totally arbitrary that the movie just shifted to like, oh, actually nobody believes you.
Yes,
despite the fact
very
that your
strange.
book is on the New York Times bestseller
I thought it
list.
shifted because when he went on Gets
Oh
Live,
yeah.
he claimed that he saw his aborted daughter, which that does seem odd.
It's a banger.
Yeah.
That is one of the biggest takes in the universe. Like he broke the internet with that one. Like it really sent a lot of people for a loop.
I guess the main question that I've had, who is Rachel?
Yeah, in the book, it says that you made a few comments just before you went under surgery about this Rachel, where you said you were very sorry and ashamed.
She was my daughter.
I'm sorry.
Rachel is my daughter.
She was or is? My notes here say you have only one daughter, Tiffany.
No. I have 2 daughters.
Oh, okay. Tell us about Rachel.
Rachel lives in heaven. She's lived in heaven most of her life.
So wait. You spoke with her.
Oh my, David.
Don't tell me. Did you have one of those out-of-body experiences and
What is it?
go to heaven?
What's going on?
Did you see a light?
Wait, Mike.
Did you follow
Mike.
the light? I'm not much of a fan of heaven myself, but I am a big fan of those who say they've been there.
I have a question about that too. So when we watched the Colton Burpo movie, Heaven is for Real, Colton Burpo says that everybody he sees in heaven is like hot and in their mid-20s.
Yes.
But when you see your aborted daughter in heaven, she's like 7
Is that how old she was?
when she was aborted.
No. I just don't. I don't particularly recall the movie saying that she was that age. Is that?
Well,
is
she
that
just
how old she
he
was?
referred to her as
Yeah.
like a beautiful child, and when every time they showed her, it was like, oh, she's like definitely
Right.
elementary school age,
Right.
younger elementary school age, basically. But
Yeah.
this abortion happened like at least 2 decades previous.
Right.
So is it like a dog years thing? Or
Yeah.
like,
Well, that's a really great point. I feel like when characters in movies, hypothetical characters are seen in heaven, of course they're seen just like at whatever is the phase in their life that we can idealize them the most at. Like
Yeah.
if your aborted daughter is in heaven, then we see her as the innocent young girl that we always sort of thought
that
we
you
were
missed
gonna
out
grow
on,
up in.
basically.
Right. But if like a teen or a child, whatever, goes to heaven, then it's like them like just grown up and in the like young hotness of the adulthood. Basically, however we can fantasize about you. That's
Right.
like how you are in heaven.
Right.
But if like a very old person dies or whatever, then they're like old because that's like, when they were at their best. Like we thought of them as like a cool old person,
Not in the Colton Burpo movie though.
That's
I
right.
was like, I saw
Yeah.
Grandma and Grandpa, but they were like young.
She was banging.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in Heaven's War, is that what
Yeah.
that movie was called?
Oh wow. Yeah.
Remember
I
the
forgot
mom
about
was
that
like
one.
really hot,
Yes.
trying to
Yeah.
seduce him.
Yeah, and was like, you can do anything in heaven.
Right.
It was so funny the way they were like teased the aborted daughter storyline with like
so dumb.
everybody's. I mean, you went to heaven, but you were saying a woman's name that wasn't your wife when you were coming back to life. I guess.
I
When
love
was he
that.
supposed to be saying this?
I love that.
Like, why would that ever get brought up in any context? That for some reason that was like what everybody wanted to know.
Just
Yes.
mumbling things when he's half conscious. Talking about this mysterious Rachel.
Yeah, that is a great trope that
I
happens.
guess it's like Citizen Kane. Everybody want to know what Rosebud was.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, I love that. I love when movies imagine a hypothetical like national conversation where the events that are transpiring in the movie, there's some reality where those could be like the most important questions, the stuff that everyone's like buzzing about. I always think that's like so funny. A movie that we brought up multiple times while watching this one is Let There Be Light, which is one of our personal favorite as a podcast, contemporary Christian films, starring Kevin Sorbo, written and directed, or I can't remember, produced. I can't remember, but Kevin and his wife Sam Sorbo were a creative team on the movie, where Kevin Sorbo, as we know, plays an atheist author superstar who has a near-death experience and sees his dead son in heaven. A lot of parallels between this one, the man who went to heaven, and that one, both because they have like a sort of devilish like literary agents.
Yeah.
And there's this concept where the main character of the movie is like takes the national stage. Like in Let There Be Light, everyone's like, what does Saul Harkins say in his next book about atheism? Like everyone's like, and then when all the paparazzi are in his hotel room after the experience, they're all like, did you see God? Like when they find out that he's like died briefly, that's like a huge like paparazzi story. And same in this movie. Everyone's like, what was the name he was whispering right before he went to heaven?
It was Rachel. And we are pretty much led to believe in the movie that Rachel is possibly like some mistress or some woman that he was having an affair with. His wife finds his pile of printed out Google image searches of CGI heaven, which is somehow extremely powerful. At least another movie needs to do that. Like showing someone's very specific Google image search all printed out. There's like some actual magic to that.
I completely agree.
Not quite sure how to explain that.
This movie was such a good portrayal of what it's like to see somebody who is clinically dead for 20 minutes and like slowly realizing the long-term effects of that.
Absolutely.
Remember the scene where he's sitting there just talking about him right in front of him at the like restaurant table, and he's just staring off into space, and they're like, yeah, he does that sometimes now.
Yes. That's a really good point. So I would say, another main theme in this movie, apart from the media and the commodification of Christian stories, another main theme in the movie is one man's descent into,
heaven.
One man going kind of insane, having a profound spiritual experience that leaves him unable to function in the normal way on Earth. Throughout the movie, we see him go through a journey, and he does not relate to people and his old life in quite the same way. To what you were saying, Julian, the movie does actually give hints that he is maybe like disabled now.
Yeah, he is much slower.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't really see him before he gets shot, but he's at least running in that scene. So he is literally much slower throughout the rest of the movie.
Yes.
Yeah. In multiple ways. Yeah.
He moves slowly. Yeah. He communicates. His whole dialogue is kind of like simple,
Yeah.
There's like he's a little touched, there's like that quality about him is like comes across in the movie. Like when he meets with the pastor and he like points slowly to this picture of this like old man on the bulletin board and was like, I just saw him. He's very happy. It's like they gave him all the innocence of like 7-year-old Colton Burpo from Heaven is for Real, but he's like a 50-year-old man. So it was very disarming and kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. It still seems like he's allowed to drive a car and just go around.
Yeah.
Be on his own.
He could probably open carry.
Yeah.
And he looked a lot like John Travolta in The Fanatic.
Yes.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, looked and acted like John Travolta in The Fanatic.
Yes.
Yes. The actor who plays David Burrows is
Tim Ross, was it?
Which you can tell he wrote his own IMDb profile because it says he is like his mom is Cuban and his dad is Scots-Irish, which is like your dad's just white, dude. Scots-Irish, come on.
Yeah, the actor, Tim, you're right. It is Tim. Tim Ross is for short, but his full IMDb name is Timothy Perez Ross, and he is. I was wondering, like the first 15 minutes of the movie, I was like, "What? Who does he look like?" And I realized John Travolta.
Yeah,
he has the same like face shape, like mouth shape, and this weird kind of way of talking. I don't think he's imitating Travolta. He just seems like a coincidence. But
yeah, his voice straight up sound. If you closed your eyes and watched this, you would see wait, what's his fucking name? You would see John Travolta burning in a pit of fire while 8 monks chant around him.
Yeah. It's true. So, he's walking around talking kind of simple. His family literally just has conversations about him while he's sitting 3 feet away at the same table.
Yeah.
But also he is experiencing supernatural visions. And this is where the movie really stands a cut above the rest. What were the various visions he was seeing? How were they depicted in this film?
Beautiful CGI visions of heaven. We get some angel trance, and I really liked the music anytime he had any kind of vision.
Yeah.
Really cool, ambient tones.
Heaven looked very ambient until he went into the weird medieval
Tower
version of heaven.
Yes.
It looked like he was in an alien spaceship or something, beyond the comprehension of our what we know as technology. But I guess that could be heaven. And then he went through a door and was flying through World of Warcraft or something. I don't know. There was old boats and cobblestone houses and a big tower. Get your shit together, heaven. I don't want to get up there and have to fucking churn my own butter.
Well, that's what made this movie so powerful and so different from a lot of the other Christian films you watch. And this was, by the way, straight up an auteur Christian film. This is not an ambiguous secular Christian crossover. This is a fucking Christian film.
Yeah.
And I've never seen heaven depicted quite like this, where it was done in this very mixed animation style. And also, the way it introduced this kind of sinister aspect of the supernatural, I thought was really scary, because the first couple visions of heaven, we just saw the very stereotypical, but still very beautiful and compelling, the angel spreading its wings while Trance Without Drums is playing softly, and the angel's literally CGI, looks like a Second Life character, or a Y2K rave tape from that era.
Also, his heritor model was so much more jacked than he was in real life.
So cool, the 3D rendering of David Burrows. But the third time he goes into the zone, it's he goes deeper, and that's when we start to see him traverse this World of Warcraft landscape, and it starts to get dark and worldly, and it's this is weird. And then he goes inside of a tower, a lighthouse, and there's a woman burning on fire, and he wakes up. That's fucking scary.
Yeah.
She's surrounded by, it's a burning skeleton with screaming, a woman's voice screaming, and half a dozen hooded figures
yes,
praying or chanting. She's around this
in the Eyes Wide Shut room with surrounded by the.
It was crazy. It looked like fucking Diablo or something.
It did.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, I'm gonna select Barbarian now and begin the adventure.
Yeah, it was cool. And then also when he was getting lost in the parking garage at some point in the movie, he turns and there's a guy on fire.
Yeah.
That was so crazy.
That was cool.
Which was obviously CGI'd, but they did it quickly enough and with camera movement that it was it felt good.
It was
I don't know, it was cool.
unsettling.
It worked.
Shades of the trash can person in Mulholland Drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was startling.
I agree. I think that the effects in this movie were really good. It was not the most high budget movie. You could see it was a good piece of art where low budget art where just because you could see, not exactly that I know how they did everything, because I don't, but it's you could see oh, this is probably stock footage, this is probably this is probably this. You could see how it was pieced together.
Yeah.
But it still was very powerful. It was the way it was done was actually quite tasteful and made for a really powerful watch, even though you could sort of see the seams of it, if that makes sense. You know,
I think it works though. That I don't think that JC Films Studios bit off more than they could chew, and it mostly worked for it. And they did a really good job using stock photos too. I thought they had some like good transitions between things, and it really seemed like thought out.
Yes. Oh, actually, speaking of photos, just one of the last things I think to mention in the idea of him descending into madness, I wanted to bring up once more what you said about the scene where his wife discovers his like attic hideout.
Yeah.
And yeah, the room is full of, as you said, printed out Google image searches of just artist depictions of heaven, all done in the same style.
Oh, and drawing of a ladder going into a lake of fire that looks like it was drawn by a
small child.
The small child.
Yeah,
which again adds to the this person has suffered a traumatic brain injury.
Yeah. Yeah, he's drawing like a kindergartner's scary drawings, like the drawings that like a teacher would call home about.
Yeah.
It's like what he's drawing in his secret room with like his secret diary that talks about Rachel. And also, just printed out pictures of like CGI, like pearly gates.
Yeah, right under those, that's when you see the secret diary about Rachel and the shocked look on his wife's face, and you're like, "Who is this Rachel?"
Right. But
it was pretty cool. It was an effective scene.
Yeah, it was. Maybe a cinematic comparison I can think of is, I mean, we were just talking about it. We might talk about it more in the future, but. In Scary of 61st, where she has all the like Prince Andrew memorabilia like sort of set out in front of her. I mean, it's not like printed out Google images, but just like the idea of assembling like many photos of one thing. It's like a pretty easy
of what
to
you're
achieve.
obsessing over, of what you can't get out of what you're basically possessed with in some capacity.
Yeah, it kind of works because it's like, we live in an age where we can sort of like bring up like anything we are obsessed with. We can sort of like bring up as much content about it as we want. Like we have the means to do that. So I think kind of like visually manifesting that in that way by having someone essentially like make their own vision board, and it's just like completely one dimensional stuff they're obsessed with, like ends up being a powerful like storytelling form, for stuff made in like 2021. It's cool.
It worked.
It really did. It was quite scary to look at his secret hideaway where he's drawing Sharpie drawings of Jacob's ladder, like hastily scrawled on a piece of notebook paper. It was supremely dope.
And imagining Jacob's ladder too, that he had a vision of Jacob's ladder basically.
And it just looked like a fucking ladder. It looked like a ladder that you climb in the garage.
Oh, that reminds me. There was that part early on. Yeah,
he did climb the ladder.
He's climbing up in a ladder. And his wife just finds him at the top of the ladder. Just like, she's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Huh?"
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I really thought this movie was going to go into the like, did he go to heaven or is he just a little, not the same since the accident?
Right.
Because of stuff
we don't really
like that.
know.
Yeah, well, I mean, the wife, when she was talking to the daughter, was just like, "Oh, he's having a spiritual awakening."
Your dad, he's always zoned out, but you think your father is going through a spiritual journey, or the awakening, maybe, like church, biblical sense? No, I don't think so.
Well, how does the movie end with regards to like what conclusions are we supposed to draw?
So Dean Cain, during one of his what's supposed to be like, I'm assuming like a mega church sermon, cast doubt on Burrows's claim that he went to heaven and invites him to a big debate. And that debate is attended by about 12 people. A panel of 3 experts on heaven who are given, a total of in 90 seconds to debunk Burrows' claims. And then he goes on stage and, people in the crowd are pretty interested in what the experts have to say. But then he goes up there and basically gives a like Webster's dictionary defines heaven as speech, which, converts everybody in the crowd into believing. But the main crux of his argument is that people are too afraid to talk about heaven, the actual heaven.
Right.
They like to talk about everything, what we talk about when we talk about heaven. But, his thesis was we need to talk about heaven, the alternate title to this movie. And for whatever reason, people are really on board with that. I don't really understand what he was saying or why it was meant to be compelling. Did you guys understand it at all? I'm pretty sure they talk about heaven in church.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not super familiar with church.
Yeah, that was kind of a funny thing to come up because, like, I guess some churches, I'm sure there's other churches that are constantly talking about heaven. I mean, that's like a pretty big draw for
yeah, I've
for the church.
I gotta be honest, I really try to like put myself in the minds of these filmmakers and just sort of inhabit like, oh yeah, I can understand why they're saying that. I have no idea what his speech meant at the end. There is not a single church that doesn't talk about heaven. The book of Revelations, vividly, there's pages that just talk about like literally what heaven looks like.
Yeah.
It's like that you can like read it. It's like, oh, there's like pillars of this and like gates of this and like blah, blah, blah. It's like they're always talking about heaven. That's the whole fucking point.
It's deeply adjacently ingrained in our politics at this point.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it reminded me of like one of those people who's just like, they should do something about that when they read the news.
Yeah.
Well, or like one time we were talking with somebody outside of this very apartment, and they were telling us why. They were like, they never show the movie The Dead Zone anymore on television. Why did they stop showing the movie Dead Zone? They need to start showing the movie The Dead Zone again. And he was like, it's because they shoot the president in the movie or a presidential candidate in the movie. And I was just like, I'm pretty sure they don't show it because it's like 35 years old and nobody gives a shit anymore. There's like other movies that people want to watch.
That's a really good point. He was
like, it was like the most profound thing ever to him.
Yeah. You know what's awesome? You can just like say anything.
Yeah. Like his speech in the movie reminded me of like those flat earth documentaries.
Yeah.
Like the way he was like, and Jacob saw angels going, and Jacob saw angels on the ladder going up to heaven and down to earth. They were going up and down, ascending to heaven and descending to earth.
Right.
And they were on a ladder, up and down.
and
people are like nodding. Yeah.
And basically an expert says, well, you didn't go to heaven because you didn't see the Bible there. And you say you did see God, but John 1:18 says you can't see God. And then he says, ooh, baby, do you know what that's worth? Oh, heaven is a place on earth. And the crowd fucking loses it. And then he drops the...
Yeah. But then the pastor says, would you know my name if I saw you in heaven?
You didn't see the Bible, dude. I'll fucking get it to the next time. Heaven's a big place. You can't do it all in one trip.
That was so funny to be like, oh, you didn't see the Bible in heaven? Guess you weren't in heaven. Because it's like, what do you need the Bible in heaven for?
One of the funniest...
I thought I was done reading that shit. Yeah. I'm already here.
Yeah, it's like if you graduate high school and then you have to read a math book once a year or whatever.
You're not allowed to use your calculator once you leave high school.
One of the funniest single moments in I think anything we've watched is when the preacher is doing the gotcha on him, and he says, "So you went to heaven? Did you see the Bible?" and then it freeze frames on David Burrows' face when he's like looking in the camera like Jim from The Office, and then it like pauses there, and it's like he's supposed to be like dumb.
Mr. Burrows, David, tell us about heaven.
I saw cities and angels. Lots of them, thousands. And people.
Well, how about the Bible? Did you see the Bible in heaven?
No.
So no preaching, no churches, no Bible in heaven. Perhaps maybe you went through the wrong door.
That is so crazy. That was funny as fuck. Like this movie was so special. There was just a couple moments that like were just so surreal that they really just like shook me to my core. Like, I mean, you really should see it for yourself. Like, this is one we highly recommend. But like, what were some other just like parts that we haven't mentioned that just like kind of rocked our worlds? Like,
similarly, there was that moment when they're on Getz Live, and Getz is obviously over Burrows. He really just wants to hear the doctor's take on Burrows, I guess. And then they slide the book cover over Burrows, just covering him up completely.
They were definitely intentional in doing that.
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
actually, it absolutely worked.
It was really funny.
It was pretty funny. And then wasn't there like later on they put like a big question mark over his face?
oh yeah. That was at the previous. That was
In the
when
church,
he talks
yeah.
about the Bible.
Right.
No, I
Yeah.
forgot, but that was a part of that scene. That was
It was
after
like a campaign
But did he
attack ad or
see?
something.
But did you
So
see
funny.
the Bible?
So good.
Oh, another amazing moment while we're listing moments is when he goes into the office to talk to his own church pastor to get some guidance about the visions he's seeing. And there's a stuffed doll of Jesus, like as if like Raggedy Andy was like Jesus. He had like yarn hair, and the movie zooms in close up of doll Jesus's face, zooms back out, David Burrows looking at yarn Jesus and going, he doesn't really look like that. Zooms back into a close up of Jesus'
Like a
face.
slower zoom. It's so good.
It's great.
It's
Plus,
so
like the
funny.
doll had like a mustache for some reason.
Yeah.
It's like Jesus with a mustache.
Yeah. Very good.
That's good. We should talk though about who the mystery of who the burning woman
Yes.
is, because I think seems to be leading you to believe that it is Rachel, or at least that's what I was thinking.
Me
Was that what they
too.
were trying to do? Was make you think that it was Rachel, the aborted daughter, like burning in heaven, which is a new thing. I didn't know they did that up there.
I actually thought it was who it is. I did not think it was the situation which it was, which ended up being a classic modern evangelical trope.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who did it end up being?
It was his wife. She has cancer. She's suffering.
Is that why she would? I'm kind of zoned out.
The
during
burning is
B.
her suffering.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh,
And that's why, because this happened a
that
couple
makes
times in
sense.
his visions where Angel Rachel like points her finger and then it zooms over all the little cobblestone town into the tower, and then you see like the person burning surrounded by the robed winged figures with eyes wide shut masks on. Yeah, because she's suffering with cancer.
Right.
She needed prayers. She needed their prayers.
She needed prayers.
and she does pass away at the end, right?
Yes. At least it's strongly hinted that she does, to the point where I would say yes, although it doesn't really technically like show it happen. Like no one comes out and is like, oh, she's died, but David Burrows is kneeling by his wife's bed in the hospital. She's wearing a black head covering. It made me think that she converted to Islam while in a coma, just like the Seton movie, The President Goes to Heaven. I would have liked it if the nurse came in and went, she said the Shahada and now she is a Muslim. That did not happen, unfortunately. But David Burrows is kneeling by her unconscious body in the bed. And over his shoulder, we once again see the CGI girl angel that represents his aborted daughter
that he named.
And I took this strongly to mean that it was his comfort in knowing that she was going to be in heaven.
Yeah.
Who was the guy who was on fire, though?
It's
in
a
the
good
parking
question.
garage. That was just a man on fire.
Yeah.
That was not actually a vision. That was just a guy who was on fire.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, do you know which way to
He
the
actually saw that.
where's the closest pool?
That guy. Oh, you know what? They were doing the cover shoot for that Pink Floyd album.
He's shaking his hand.
They're filming that Spike Jones music video.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that? Do you guys think that the people who made this movie had seen "Let There Be Light"?
They
Seems to be a
must have,
lot
right?
of similarities between this and "Let There Be Light."
I would lean toward yes.
I would
say
think so.
70% yes.
I mean, they're not exactly like creative storytelling decisions,
Right.
But to have them all in the same movie is kind of, I'm not trying to inspire anybody to file a lawsuit or anything,
Right.
No.
but this definitely felt like a post "Let There Be Light" film.
I agree. Yeah. It's like, I mean, it's not even that "Let There Be Light" in itself was very innovative. It's just that it's the best example of the type of story it tells. Like, that's what makes it special to me.
Yeah,
There's some,
Totally.
pretty amazing twists, but I completely agree with you. It's not that anything in it is particularly unique, but the specific combo. I think the real tell for me was the literary agents.
yeah.
That just seemed a little too on the nose, like inspired by "Let There Be Light." Like the fact that we meet the doctor's literary agent. Like, why is he a character in the film? It doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
great. I liked him, but
Going to CGI heaven, seeing your dead child,
yeah.
and the wife gets cancer, and also being like raked over the coals for saying heaven is for real. Which just never happens.
That's so
It's
true.
so funny that like that is still a thing in these movies. Like that never happens. Nobody. There's so many people who say they've been to heaven.
I could see, though, if it was actually a big national story, like they're saying, that there being some churches that would like take it into question or like want to have a more critical discussion about it.
That's true. I guess it's funny to see it in a movie where that is like their world.
Yeah.
Because it's like always like the biggest thing to happen.
Yes.
Everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
But really, it's not that many people are talking about it.
I think if a big celebrity said they saw heaven and that it was, there was a confirmable news story that they were briefly, brain dead or had a near-death experience, I think that would probably ignite some news. Because people are sort of open to talking about things in the realm of angels and demons right now, except for it has to do with like a mega celebrity.
Yeah.
Like
Who
I
could it be?
actually kind of hate talking about this because it was very sad. So, but the whole like Astroworld tragedy ignited like a week-long discussion of the idea of like certain events as like demonic like sacrifices. It was actually like a huge sort of discourse topic. But it kind of had all the ingredients for it to be about that because it involved like one of the most famous celebrities, which is Travis Scott. He's like hugely famous, and
People were saying it was a demonic
Yes.
sacrifice.
Yeah, you are so
Wow.
lucky to not be online. This is like a huge discursive topic.
That's cool.
Kind of, yeah.
I like it. I mean, yeah.
Man.
If I'm gonna go, I want to be going a demonic sacrifice.
Well,
Not me.
Let's make it happen, listeners.
I mean, let's just say this is going to be the last episode of Boys Bible Study. I have some evening plans in store after I hit pause on
Once
this.
we hit 666 Patreon subscribers, we will get Julian involved
Please.
in a demonic sacrifice.
Let's do it.
We're going to send him with a Zoom recorder into.
Yeah, you guys would love
Pits of
that. He
hell.
gets to split it 50-50 or whatever.
Mhm.
Cut me out of the equation.
Yeah, you can't take it with you.
That's true. That's true. Who could say they went to heaven? It would be a big deal. I guess people usually convert to Christianity when they're in trouble, in legal trouble.
Yeah,
Or their star is dimming.
My first instinct is Kanye West, except for I think people would just dismiss it. You know, he's sort of like Boy Who Cried Wolf because of his many like stunts.
Yeah.
Over the years.
I would dismiss it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it would have to be someone who is very, very famous, but not really known for, you know, making big proclamations or, you know,
Talking about religion at all.
Yeah.
But it would they'd have to be like A-list famous,
Yeah.
like
I wonder-
still a
'cause
part
they're
of
like-
the discourse.
Our like reverence of celebrity is so fractured at this point that it would never be somebody who could like get like 51% of the vote or whatever.
Right.
It would be like a TikTok star. And now like
You know who I
a
think
huge chunk of kids are like super into like evangelicism.
You know who I think it could be? Donald Trump.
That's what I was thinking for a second.
You
But,
think people would buy it?
Like young people
what
wouldn't
if his
care.
tone? What if his tone completely changed?
Oh.
You know what I mean? Because he's known for a very specific type of like
Yeah.
tone and way of talking about
True.
things. What if he like, you know, came back? I mean, he's still, you
I
know,
love all
doing
my children.
Yeah, no, like what if he like his way of speaking changed, his way of sort of like acting like changed, and he
Yeah.
seemed like suddenly very reverent and very like gloomy and like talking a different way. It
And
would
matter
freak
of
people out.
factly said we're all God's children.
Right, exactly. Like if he said something
yeah.
like that, it would like freak people out.
That'd be
Yeah.
sick.
But yeah, no, if he went up there and he was like
I am no longer a crook.
But you know, if he went up there and he was like, the fallen angel Lucifer was treated very unfairly, and it ended very badly for him. You know, then it wouldn't work. But if his tone like completely changed, then I could see it really freaking people out.
Yeah, that'd be scary.
Yeah. Well,
Let's hope nobody from the Trump campaign is listening to this right now.
yeah,
You might get some good ideas.
yeah. Well, anything else to say about the man who went to heaven?
I liked one line. So right after we did our, what is in almost every movie that we watch, 6 months later, they're sitting around the dinner table and somebody's talking about getting a timeshare. And then our man, David Burrows, says, that sounds like a bad deal. And besides, you've got a free timeshare in heaven just waiting for you.
You move to these villas that are on the beach. They say the place is gorgeous. You've got an activity center, you got a 2-car garage, you got a pool, you got 2 pools. You got hot tubs, jacuzzis, saunas. You got the whole thing, the whole 9.
Yes, but for us, we'd have to sell our house to them.
Yeah, that sounds like a scam. Don't do that. Besides, you have a free timeshare in heaven just waiting on you.
Yes.
Which I love because that is such an important thing under capitalism.
Yeah.
To have like, well, you're gonna go to heaven when you die.
Right. That sort of takes me back to what I was
You can
thinking.
vacation later. Get
Right.
back to work.
Yeah, right. That's completely true. And that also kind of takes me back to
Well,
my
you did them
thought
the favor
earlier.
of talking them out of getting a timeshare.
Right. But this makes me think that it's again like it's like ancient evenings, but for people in the suburbs, you know, or you know, for people with Facebook accounts or people with Nextdoor accounts, because like it sort of was this like journey like beyond death, but still very grounded to like the signs of like upper middle class life, like talking about timeshares.
Yeah.
It's like, now heaven's like a timeshare, but it's free. It's like that as your way of like understanding cosmology is like very dark. you
Yeah.
know? Also after that line, the other woman the two they were like with a couple who we never see again in the movie. The wife in that couple says something like,
The church is doing the funeral for Mr. Pickerel. Looks like his timeshare program came due.
Stop. He was a nice man.
He was a nice man.
and like everyone laughs.
Oh my God, I missed that.
It was really
That's sick.
quick.
Wow.
It was really quick. It was like a weird like piece of like
awesome.
off-color humor in the movie. It was very funny.
This movie was great.
It was a really good fucking movie. I'm just gonna say it because honestly, saying this out loud will motivate me to do it because I haven't done one in a while. But we're gonna show this in a live stream really soon.
Yay.
Be on the lookout.
Yeah, we're gonna announce it soon and do it. I can't wait. Yeah, The Man Who Went to Heaven, banger and a half. So glad that Tubi recommended us this film. Can't wait to check out Jason Campbell's other stuff. Should we give this the official Boys Bible Study rating?
I just want to say, does the Lord work in mysterious ways or does the Lord work directly through Tubi?
Tubi is one of the few true instruments of the divine that it's like the Shroud of Turin of streaming services, you know?
Totally. I assume whoever saw the vision of Tubi was just like, I don't know what I'm looking at.
Right. Yeah.
This is
The
so
Shroud of
mysterious.
Tubi.
Right.
The Shroud of Tubi. Yeah.
I like the idea that Tubi just like manifested and like it's like a power source that manifested and we just like no one made it. We just learned how to tap into it. You know? And like no one's really sure like how it's gonna end. Like will it outlive us? Will we outlive it? Like will it cause our destruction? It's hard to say, but like while it's here, we're gonna sort of like worship it and like tap it for its power.
Yeah, future civilizations are going to find it and learn about us through it.
Yeah, they're going to watch Looney Tunes back in action with commercials for the military in between.
Yeah.
And they're going to
And the Freak Brothers.
Yeah. They're going to watch Antiques Ghost Show. We should do an episode on Antiques Ghost Show, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dope. I don't know.
It was good.
It was just so fun. I was thinking about it today.
Could be a good bonus.
Yeah. What do you say, boys? What's the official Boys Bible Study rating of The Man Who Went to Heaven?
I'm gonna give this 10 out of 10 printed out Google image searches. This movie was wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I went to heaven 10 times.
Yeah.
I loved, something I really loved about it was the overall tone and vibe of it was not very evangelical to me, or like most evangelical pop culture stuff that we look at. It seemed a little more genuine and less hateful, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like the only times they really portrayed characters as like not being up to totally pure intentions was at church when they're trying to like debunk his heaven experience, but even they then came around. So it was in that sense, it was like a little bit more like a Jehovah's Witness movie.
Yeah, sure.
If you know what I mean. Like I know that's hard to say because Jehovah's Witness movies are so particular.
Right. And yeah.
But like I feel like they're ultimately not very judgmental of people, whereas like a lot of the evangelical oriented stuff we have is there's usually some characters who you're clearly supposed to just be like, oh, they're bad.
I agree.
They're up to no good and they're bad.
I agree. That was a neat part about this movie. There was no character that was unredeemable. Or even really any character that was bad per se. I mean, Jehovah's Witness movies are on another level just because like their cosmology kind of necessarily like excludes like so many people. But I agree with you that their tone is not usually that like people are inherently like evil.
Yeah, like even that short film, one of the last ones we watched for the podcast, where the teacher at school is teaching evolution, and through the Jehovah's Witness lens, that's supposed to be wrong.
Right.
But the Jehovah's Witness student explains her point, and the teacher is like is accepting of her like as her own autonomous person, like having an opinion and that being totally fine because they're in school, a place to learn.
Right. That's true. It didn't immediately cast school as a place where you'll never get to express yourself. It showed that, yeah, in school you actually can express yourself. Like a lot of schools do actually like let students express
They give them the
themselves.
benefit of the doubt of being there as a teacher and not having some secret hidden agenda, because we always know they do if they're teaching devolution or whatever. There's not
Do
that
people say
element of it.
devolution?
Yeah,
That's
I've heard
cool.
it before.
Okay,
yeah.
that sounds. I've never heard that before. That's cool.
That or evolution.
I've got to give this movie, The Man Who Went to Heaven, I also have to give it 10 out of 10 rungs in Jacob's Ladder, where angels walk up and down to the gutters on your garage to remove the leaves from them when it rains. Brilliant movie, perfect in every way. I was unsettled, delighted. I laughed, I cried. I would recommend this to anyone. Anyone.
I'm gonna give this 20 out of 20 minutes. Dead. You know what they say about the angels on the ladder? I hate to see you descend to earth, but I love to watch you walk up to heaven.
They do say that.
Wow. Another banger from the genre that has it all. The Alpha and the Omega. Christian cinema. Another week of faithful studies.
Let's keep watching movies like this.
Yeah.
Please.
Let's keep watching movies, you guys. Here,
Yeah.
same time next
Yeah.
week, okay?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
Thanks to everyone who listened. If this is your first time with us, please go to boysbiblestudy.com. Links to subscribe to everywhere you can find our podcast on most feeds. Type in Boys Bible Study. Hey, leave a review if you had a good time. We love seeing the 5-star reviews. It just makes us feel so good. Thank you so much to everyone who supports us on patreon.com/Boys Bible Study. If you want to hear more, get episodes every week instead of every other week, go there. Subscribe for $5 a month or more. Join the prayer list, and you'll get even more content. Shout outs to our very special patrons on the $20 tier, our patron saints. We shout them out on every episode. That's right. Nicole, Marissa, Jeff, Jane, Kara, and Alexandria. Thank you all so much. It really, really means a lot. It helps us out so much. Our outro music is Oh My God by Mary. From all of us here at Boys Bible Study, myself, Ash, my co-hosts, Scott and Julian, we would like to say, peace be with you. And also with you. Is that Trump after he's come back?
Yeah. Yeah,
I didn't realize.
He's returned.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I feel your love in me, it's coming from within. Oh my God, my devotion is so unwavering. Divine emotions when you enter me.